Hello, this is a video tutorial for lesson 5.5, solving systems of equations. Now the cover sheet is going to ask us to do two ways. We can take the system of equations that's given right here and we can solve by graphing. And now if you've been in class, you've practiced this. And the instructions are here. We're going to take this one and solve both equations for y, and so I've got them both written down here so I can do that. Notice I've written them side by side, and we're going to then graph that on the calculator, and these are instructions for the Casio calculator. So when we get to that part, we'll go to menu 3, and then we'll look for the intersection by pushing the G solve and look for this abbreviation of intersection. So let's get started. This is where we're going to have to take each equation and solve for y. So I'm looking at the y right here. And the first thing I want to do is get rid of the 3x. So I'm going to go minus 3x, minus 3x, and cancel that out. So what's left comes on down, 2y equals 4 minus 3x, and we're going to divide each little part by 2. Now those 2's cancel out. Now here, 4 divided by 2, that'll simplify to 2. 3 halves, not so much. So we'll just keep that as a fraction. So I've got halfway. I'm halfway there, and now I'm going to solve this one, the second equation for y. So we're going to get started. That's what I want, so I got to get rid of these that's with it. So I'm going to go first over here to the x and get rid of the x. And what's left, bring it on down. So 3y and the negative 5 plus x, divide by 3. The 3's cancel out, and again I'm getting a bunch of fractions, but we will just go with it. That's what's nice about this calculator, is that these fractions are not going to pose a problem at all. So let me get that calculator. Oop, it's not handy, hold on. And I'm going to turn it on. I haven't used this, so we'll see what I get. I'm over here. That's fine. Clear all that out if you want. And I'm going to start with, like I said, menu 3, which is our graphing menu. I've got something in there, so I'm going to delete those functions. I got to clear that out. So I'll start fresh, and you're going to put both equations in. Now to type the fractions, I'm going to use this button here, the ABC. But to get started, it's just 2 minus, oops, this minus. Don't use this little one with the parentheses in between that one. So 2 minus, and then I'm going to do the 3 halves, which is 3 over 2. That's how it shows up on the calculator, and then we'll put our x. Execute. I have to push this button right here, execute. And the next one, let's see. Negative. Now here's where we are going to use this. To start out, this is negative. Negative 5 over 3. There it shows up. Plus x over 3. And then I'm pushing the enter button, that little blue button in the corner, and draw. And we'll wait for it. Now when we're asking for the solution, that means we're looking for this point of intersection where they cross. So that's what I want. You know, I kind of get an idea where it is, a little bit around 2 here. But we're going to go G solve, which is on the F5 button. And intersection is also on the F5. So And we wait, and there we get the answer. X is 2 and y is 1/2. But to write it, we put that in parentheses, the x comma the y. 2 and 1/2. Now we can do this on graph paper, but we're just going to go ahead and call it done. The graphing calculator has done the graphing for us. We're good to go. And so that's what we've just finished. What we want to do is show the solving by elimination, which is another method. And I'm going to put that calculator aside. This is really more a method that you use with paper and pencil. Now the key points are here is that it's lined up, and that's with the x's, the y, the equal, then the number. So these are lined up. We're good to go there. And the next thing I need is exact opposites. And I mean exact, the same thing, either for the x's or the y's. Now for the x's, they're opposite. This is a positive and that's a negative, but they're not the same number. So I'm going to go over and look at the y's. Well, those are just completely different. That's a 2 and that's a 3. So right now I can't work this one. What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to use step 3. I'm going to create opposites by multiplying. And I'm going to multiply this bottom one because this is a blank slate. That's just a plain, there's nothing there, so I can put any number I want to right there. So I want to match the 3, so I'm going to multiply by 3. And that will, if you're not sure what we're doing, just hold on, you'll see in a minute. So I'm going to take the first equation and just copy it. Now I'm going to take the second equation and multiply 3 times -1, that invisible 1, 3 times 3 with the y, and that one's still positive, and 3 times -5, that's -15. Now what I wanted to happen is right there. I wanted to create opposites that were the same number, except one is positive and one is negative, and that's what just happened. So now what I can do is go ahead and add both lines. And this is that step 3. Step 4. We're going to add both lines. Now when I add both lines, these x's cancel out. They get eliminated, and that's why we call it elimination. Then I'm going to add the 9 and the 2, and I get 11y. And then here, with a positive and a negative, what I need to do is subtract. And of course, I have more negatives, so that becomes a -11. And to then eliminate the 11, we're going to, in front of the y, I'm going to divide and divide. Oops, you can't see that. Let me be sure you can see it. So I've divided by 11 on both sides, and I get y equals -1. Well, here's the answer I'm supposed to get. And I don't have the answer, but I do have part of it. Now you recall, this is an ordered pair, this is an x, and this is a y. So I have the y, and I need to figure out how do you go back and get the x. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take this -1 and bring it back to where the y is. So I'm going to have 3x plus 2y. But instead of y, we're going to substitute the -1 for the y. And that equals 4. So now we're ready to do some multiplying. Nothing happens with a 3x here. I'm going to go ahead and take 2 times -1, and I get a -2. Now we want to, if I'm trying to get the x, I got to get rid of the 3 and the 2, but you're going to do your add subtract first. So the opposite of this -2 is +2. And these 2's will cancel out. and then I'm going to add the 4 plus the 2. Then divide by 3, x equals 2. So I've got my x value here, my y value up there. In order to write the final answer, the solution, you put the x, comma, the y. And yes, we got the same answer. So this is part 1 of this lesson. I'm going to go ahead and post a part 2 where I'm going to work some other problems. But you can see that there are 2 methods to solve the same problem when we got the same answer. So we solved by graphing, and this one you start out with some work on paper and pencil, and then you go to the calculator. And this one we did it all on our paper. So see you in part 2.